In 2014, the Adventuredome in Las Vegas debuted a brand new compact thrill coaster known as El Loco. The attraction is one of only 6 in the world, developed by ride manufacturer S&S Worldwide. It is their El Loco model, all of which have almost an identical layout. This one in Las Vegas, however, is different. The Adventuredome is an indoor theme park attached to the Circus Hotel right off of the Strip. They have very limited land to work with. Already in the park is Canyon Blaster and Aerodynamics looping coaster, multiple flat rides, mini golf, arcade games, and in order to fit this ride in, the park had to take out an older water ride. They liked the small size but high thrill that this model offered, but in order to fit it in, they had to do a little out-of-the-box thinking. In conjunction with famed ride designer Alan Schilke, S&S was able to put in a 90-foot tall, 45-mile-per-hour El Loco coaster that featured an extremely steep drop, 2 inversions, and 1,300 feet of track. That makes this slightly shorter than rides like Steel Hog or Mumbo Jumbo, about 4 miles per hour faster, interestingly enough, but not quite as steep. A ride like Green Lantern down at Warner Brothers Movie World in Australia features the second steepest drop in the world at 120.5 degrees. They didn't quite have the ability to do that here, but the layout that they came up with is actually pretty awesome. It is wacky, wonky, and so much fun, and a nice juxtaposition from Canyon Blaster. A lot of these aero looping coasters are pretty standard run-of-the-mill rides, but Canyon Blaster in particular is extremely intense and rides really well. That means for El Loco, they had to do something different, and the two balance each other really well. So let's dive into El Loco and find out what really works. And I think we gotta first start with the ride vehicles, because this is the secret to success, in my opinion. As quirky and weird as these standard rides are, the big downside can be these uncomfortable shoulder bars. As much as I really want to like Mumbo Jumbo and Steel Hog, the experiences can be uncomfortable. My favorite of the standard models is Green Lantern down in Australia because it has those lap bars and they've brought them over here. That means your chances of headbanging are pretty much non-existent. And that's a good thing because there are a few jolts during this ride experience where you probably would have banged your head otherwise. You can see in this on-ride footage how there are certain moments where your body might kind of jolt side to side, but it's not uncomfortable in any way. All things considered, I would actually say El Loco runs pretty smooth. And I think we can credit that to the indoor space. Not having to deal with the outside elements has made a difference. Now, as we dive into the actual ride experience, once you're all harnessed up, 2 vehicles will dispatch at a time. The first will start up the lift hill, the second will come to a stop at the waiting block, and you'll take this fast climb up to the top. It's a steep incline, you're staring right up at the roof. You crest over and take this flat panorama turn, getting a little bit of laterals, and just before you'd collide into the track that you just passed over, you just narrowly duck straight towards the ground, getting some wicked sudden airtime in this very steep drop, just ever so slightly turning to the right and then rising up into this flat section that'll lead you into a block zone. It is one heck of a start, and it makes you realize just how nimble this ride vehicle is. The radius of some of these turns is so tight, it's very reminiscent of a typical Wild Mouse coaster, but this is obviously much more extreme. Now, this next section of El Loco is very similar to some of the other models like Steel Hog. You take an outside bank 180 degrees around, twist now to an inside bank, and then rotate into a stall drop. There's one of those jolts I mentioned about halfway through the stall. Again, doesn't hurt or anything. And you dive just right back towards the ground, rise back up into one of these steep ascents, getting a little bit of airtime as you level out, and then take about a 90-degree turn sharply into another block section. And would you believe that we're already in the home stretch of El Loco? There's one more section we gotta go through. There's a very slow-moving outer bank to the left. You just hang there and then switch directions, rotate to the right into another stall drop. This one takes you straight into the brake run. So you level out upside down, just dangle there, letting all the blood rush to your head, and then you start to hit the brakes about halfway down. By the time you reach the bottom, you come to a stop. So El Loco is a short ride. There is no doubt about it. But considering the space they had to work with, I think they just about maximized their track usage. There is not a dull moment because even those block sections, which are there so you can send another train up so the line doesn't get too long, because again, only 4 riders at a time, those straight sections don't feel boring. If anything, it gives you a slight break in between moments. El Loco still has a relatively low height requirement, so just about anyone could experience this attraction. And I could see how this ride could be a little intimidating for some people. A drop that steep, an inversion that hangs you upside down with just a lap bar? It could be a lot to process, but a lot of the kids who I saw ride this loved it. They wanted to just go over and over and over again, which is a good sign. I think this is a very enjoyable attraction. It's not my favorite ride at Adventuredome. I actually do prefer the older roller coaster, Canyon Blaster, funny enough. But El Loco is a lot of fun, and it's worth coming out to the Adventuredome to do this in Canyon Blaster. So for El Loco's final score, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. It's very comparable to some of their other models, but I love the ending on this. Even though the track layout is short, I think it's a great finale. And you gotta commend S&S and Alan Schilke for just developing something so unconventional. They really were outside-the-box thinkers. The fact that they were throwing in Outer Banks over 10 years ago is really impressive. It's those rider sensations that make this a standout attraction. I know we've become more used to them now, but especially at the time, they were very uncommon. And I'm surprised that it hasn't inspired more El Locos to get built. To this day, this attraction was the last El Loco coaster that S&S sold. I wonder why that is. Perhaps maybe it's just because there's so much competition in the compact thrill space. Is this ride model just seen as outdated now and everyone wants like something new and fresh? I have no idea, but let me know down in the comments below. What do you think of this ride? Do you agree with the points that I brought up? Do you think there's anything I missed? If you're new to the channel, please go check out the other coaster reviews that we've posted. They're all available in a playlist organized in alphabetical order by the ride's name. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.